Well, welcome back. This is How to Hear God's Voice. I am David Hibbert, and we're going to jump right into Lesson 2, the 5 keys to hearing God's voice. Habakkuk chapter 2. In this chapter, in just 2 short verses, God gives us insights into 5 keys to hearing God's voice. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me and what answer I am to give to this complaint. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation, make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. Okay, so what principles to hearing God's voice can we get from these 2 short verses? Well, number 1, wait. Wait. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. See, the job of a guard at a guard post was to stay in that place and to stay very still and to stay very quiet so that he could hear the slightest movements from the enemy outside of the gate or outside of the wall or outside of the guard post. So if we're going to hear God's voice, we need to get still, to get comfortable and get quiet and wait for God to speak. So the scriptures, I will stand at my watch and station myself at the ramparts. The principle is still yourself, and as a clarification, get alone, still yourself in the Lord's presence. The second key is watch. Watch. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, I will look to see what he will say to me. Now, I find it interesting that Habakkuk said that he was going to keep watch to see what God was saying, what God was speaking. Well, why did he say that? The reason is because often God's voice will come to us not as words, but as an image or a series of images or like almost a small short movie playing in our mind. He may give us a picture of a person, and then he'll give us some impressions about the person. He may give us a picture of the person's name, and then give us information on that person. He may give us a scene or a part of a scene, and as we continue to watch, he may start to give us impressions or thoughts about that scene. Recently, I decided to pray for a certain person, and so I said the person's name to the Lord, and when I thought about the person and waited, I got an image of waves coming into the shore. There was a wave coming to the shore and slowly washing up on the shore. And so I continued to watch, and as I continued to see what God was saying to me, I saw another gentle wave come, and then another, and then another, and then came this flow of thoughts that God wanted to give this person a new revelation of his love for her, okay, and her identity as a child of God. And this revelation was going to come not as a one download, but as a series of gentle waves, just a series of small revelations, and each one would bring new insights into and new freedom into her life. So the scripture is, I will look to see what God will say to me. The principle is look for vision, and clarification, look for vision, images, or pictures as you pray. The third key is called words. Words. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, what he will say to me. Okay, sometimes after the image or images, or maybe instead of the image and images, or sometimes before the images, there'll be the spontaneous flow of thoughts or words. And these thoughts or words are God speaking to us, okay? And it may come as a thought or a word or a number of thoughts or a number of words. But as we continue to sit quietly before the Lord and wait, more thoughts come, more words come, more impressions come, okay? And these words will come usually gentle and quiet, almost like a whisper. But they will come to our mind, not to our audible ears. Okay? So the scripture is what he will say to me. The principle is tune into the spontaneous flow of these thoughts or words. The clarification is recognize the spontaneous flow of words or thoughts or impressions from the Lord and tune into it. The fourth key is write. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 2 says, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets. So as the thoughts or the words come, we should write them down as quickly as possible. Put a notepad in your office. Put a notepad beside your bed. Wherever you pray, make sure there's a notepad there. And you don't have to worry about the grammar or the punctuation at this point. The goal is just to get as much of it as possible down on paper as quickly as possible. Those thoughts, those words, those pictures. Okay. And because we can always go back later and add change the punctuation, correct the grammar, correct our spelling, add more details. If we have the outline of words that came, we can add more details, and we can even describe our images. Okay. So the scripture again is write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets. Principle, write it down or journal it. We'll talk more about that in another lesson. Clarification, write down your prayers and draw or write a description of God's answers, the words and thoughts and pictures. Okay. And then number 5, witness. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, so that a herald may run with it. See, the herald was to take the message that the guard had received and run with it to others so they could read it and discern its validity and, if appropriate, then respond to it. And so we should do the same with every directional word, any word that tells us to do something, every word like that we receive from God, we should have it checked out by someone we trust who's a mature Christian to get their input and confirmation into that word. So the scripture is, so that a herald may run with it. Principle, seek confirmation. And clarification, share what God said to you with a trusted friend so that they can give you confirmation or witness and insight about it. Okay, so those are the 5 keys. Now let's look at Revelation chapter 1. The Apostle John had almost the exact same experience in Revelation chapter 1. In Revelation chapter 1, verses 10 and 11, it says, on the Lord's day I was in the Spirit, and I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet, which said, write on a scroll what you see and send it to the 7 churches, to Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. So again, the first key is wait. The scripture is, on the Lord's day I was in the Spirit. Okay, I was in the Spirit. I was waiting before the Lord. Principle is still yourself. Clarification, get alone and still yourself in the Lord's presence. The second key is watch. The scripture is, write on a scroll what you see. So principle is, look for vision. Clarification, look for vision, images or pictures as you pray. The third key is words. Scripture, and I heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet. Principle, tune in to the spontaneous flow of words and thoughts and impressions. And clarification, recognize the spontaneous flow of words or thoughts or impressions from God and tune into it. Okay, and fourth key is write. Scripture is, write on a scroll what you see. Principle, write it down or journal it. Clarification, write down your prayers and draw or write a description of God's answers, okay, the words and thoughts and pictures. And then number 5, witness. Scripture and send it to the 7 churches. Principle, seek confirmation. Clarification, share what God said to you with a trusted friend so that they can give you confirmation or witness and insight about it. Now, beginning in the next session, we'll begin to look at each one of these keys in a lot more detail so you can really understand them and learn how to apply them. But for right now, your assignment from this lesson is just to get alone and practice these 5 keys. Okay? So, wait. Number 1, wait. I'll go back there just so you can look at it again. Beginning the next lesson, we will begin to look at each key in detail. However, for now, your assignment for this lesson is to get alone and practice the 5 keys. Number 1, wait. Get alone and still yourself in the Lord's presence. Then watch. Look for vision, images, or pictures as you pray. Number 3, word. Recognize the spontaneous flow of thoughts or words or thoughts or impressions from God and tune into it. Number 4, write. Write down your prayers and draw or write a description of God's answers, the words and thoughts and pictures. And then number 5, witness. Share what God said to you with a trusted friend so that they can give you confirmation or witness and insight about it. That's it for this lesson. Come back next time for lesson 3. We're going to look at detail to key number 1, wait, still yourself. Hope to see you then. Bless you.